Welcome to NTN Nightly. I am Jessie Leonce. This edition's top stories: health authorities are concerned about stigmatization and its implications for containing community spread of COVID-19 as cases increase. The Government of Saint Lucia heeds the advice by the IMF for economic diversification but calls for proportionate regulation for their emerging industries. And the GIS suffers immense loss following a break-in. COVID-19 cases are continuing to climb here, with transmission widening in communities across the island. 11 new cases were recorded between Wednesday evening and Thursday morning. On Thursday, October 29, 2020, the Ministry of Health received confirmation of 3 new cases of COVID-19. This brings the national number of cases diagnosed to date in country to 76. There are now 49 active cases isolated in care. Case number 74 is a 65-year-old male from the Gros-Islet district. Case number 75 is a 27-year-old female from the Castries district. And case number 76 is a 25-year-old female from the Castries area as well. Cases number 75 and 76 are contacts of previously confirmed cases. All cases following testing for COVID-19 were placed in quarantine while awaiting their results. They have now been transferred to the respiratory hospital. The rise in cases has also led to an increase in incidents of stigmatization. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmont-George says such behavior can have serious implications.
With the growing number of cases, the Ministry of Health's public health team has been noting a high level of concern and even fear amongst the public. This has, in some instances, resulted in individuals who've been diagnosed with the virus being stigmatized. This stigma can be very discouraging and cause great stress to people who are infected with the virus, as well as their family, their friends, and colleagues, and the wider community in which they reside. If not addressed from now, the Ministry of Health, we anticipate that this stigma can become a barrier to individuals who require testing coming forward to do so. We ask everyone to be supportive of each other. The COVID-19 virus can be contracted by anyone of any age, gender, or social status. So let's look out not only for ourselves but for each other. Everyone needs to stick to the guidelines that have been put in place to keep us all safe.
And meanwhile, on Wednesday, October 28, 2020, the Ministry of Health and Wellness received confirmation of 8 new cases of COVID-19. All cases following testing for COVID-19 were placed in quarantine awaiting their results. They have since been placed in isolation at the respiratory hospital.
Case number 66 is a 33-year-old female from the Labrie district. Case number 67 is a 35-year-old female from the Labrie district. Case number 68 is a 62-year-old female from the Vieux-Fort district. Case number 69 is a 60-year-old female from the Vieux-Fort district. Case number 70 is a 37-year-old female in quarantine at the Rodney Bay Medical Facility. Case number 71 is a 21-year-old from the Gros-Islet district. Case number 72 is a 29-year-old female from the Castries district. Case number 73 is a 23-year-old female from the Castries district. Cases number 70, 71, 72, and 73 are linked to cases 41 and 58. Case number 66 is linked to case number 61.
Dr. Belmont-George says there is a distribution of cases to additional districts, which points to the widening in transmission of the virus across the island. She has called on all citizens to be vigilant and practice safety protocols.
We must remain committed to doing all that we can to control and to limit the spread of COVID-19 amongst us. Everyone needs to act responsibly to reduce our exposure to the virus. Anyone with respiratory symptoms such as a cough, a fever, shortness of breath, a sore throat should not be at work, socializing, or in any public place. It is important that people who are unwell seek care promptly at the closest community respiratory clinic. The Ministry of Health and Wellness, we once again remind everyone to wash and sanitize your hands often during the day. always wear a mask while in public, and maintain the separation of 6 feet from others while in public, which is about 2 arms length apart.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmar-George. And as part of efforts to investigate and undertake contact tracing in relation to the recently diagnosed cases of COVID-19, the Ministry of Health will be undertaking the necessary interventions in communities, including assessments and health education. The Ministry of Health invites residents of the community of Labrie to an outreach activity at the Labrie Wellness Center on Friday, October 30th, 2020 from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday, October 31st, 2020 from 12 noon to 6 p.m. for assessment and testing for COVID-19. The intervention will also focus on health education on infection and prevention control measures, such as the use of face masks and hand hygiene. The ministry asks for your cooperation and participation in this activity. The National Insurance Corporation, in a Facebook post, has confirmed that one member of its team at the Vieux Fort office tested positive for COVID-19. The NIC says the Ministry of Health has started the necessary contact tracing and testing of persons identified as being in close contact with the affected employee. In the interest of safeguarding members of the public and staff, the Vieux Fort office will be closed from Thursday, 29th October 2020 until further notice. All other offices remain open. During this temporary closure, the NIC is encouraging the public to access services at the Castries main office, Soufriere and Rodney Bay branches, as the NIC seeks to explore alternative arrangements for Vieux Fort customers. The Department of Economic Development, Transport and Civil Aviation has been closely monitoring the recent upsurge in the spread of the novel coronavirus in Saint Lucia. Public health officials advise that in addition to practicing good personal hygiene, social distancing is the most effective strategy to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The safety of staff and clients of the Transport Division remains the top priority. In an effort to reduce the risk of further spreading this disease, the public is hereby informed of the following. Practical driving examinations will be suspended with effect from Friday, October 30th, 2020 until further notice. Theoretical examinations will be suspended with effect from Monday, November 9th, 2020 until further notice. The public is also encouraged to conduct transactions using the DigiGov portal digigov.govt.lc. The Transport Division can be contacted via telephone number 468-6300 or email address transport@govt.lc for any required assistance. Other developments now in response to the call by the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank to broaden support for diversification in Caribbean economies. Saint Lucia and the region made a case for proportionate levels of regulation for their emerging industries based on the level of risk that they pose internationally. The lack of economic diversification has exacerbated regional vulnerabilities and economic shocks and hinders the rate of post-disaster recovery. Chief Economist in the Ministry of Finance, Jonai Leonce, says the launch of new industries have been met with criticism by international development partners.
If you are going to advise that there is some level of diversification, which the region has pursued, the international community really needs to have proportionate levels of regulation where there is risk. If we look at our IBC regimes, if we look at our CIP and our other regimes, the level of risk that is associated with those relative to the global pool is extremely small. Yet still those services receive a level of scrutiny where some may even ponder whether the international community is trying to just shut down all of our industries like that.
Leonce says headway was made when this matter was discussed at the annual meetings of the IMF and the Board of Governors of the World Bank.
We wanted a nuanced debate with the international community to say, listen, the region has pursued a multiplicity of efforts to diversify, to ensure that you have that stability in revenue intake so that revenues are not necessarily contingent on one sector. But you need that international community support to say, yes, we hear you. And where you do diversify, we are willing to provide some level of support And yes, we are willing to also regulate, but that regulation should be proportionate to the risk that you bring to the global community. And if you look at our region, or the Caribbean region, there does appear to be a disproportionate level of scrutiny of our region relative to some of the other jurisdictions.
Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Honorable Alan Chasney, says St. Lucia's plan for diversification of its economy has been met with favorable reception by the IMF.
The World Bank and the IMF absolutely agreed with St. Lucia's strategy. And the managing director of the IMF, Kristalina, came out very early and said, build as much as you can build and keep the receipts. And so the idea of investing in infrastructure, continuing the airport project, fixing up the roads, getting the water problems resolved, looking to get the port situation resolved here, the redevelopment of the Castries market, the redevelopment of village tourism, which opens up now Airbnb, which is another huge tourism sector. Persons after COVID, many of the persons don't want to go to the large resorts. So they want to come now to smaller properties. Putting in the infrastructure in Ancillary, Canneries, Soufrière, and eventually into the other villages are all a mechanism to help now with that diversification program.
Resolutions on support for St. Lucia's diversification pitch were disclosed in a recent press conference following the annual meetings of the IMF and the World Bank Board of Governors. St. Lucia extended a safe and warm welcome to the world's largest travel and tourism company as TUI Airways touched down at UNR International Airport on Tuesday. This is the airline's first flight to St. Lucia since the closure of the borders to commercial airlines on March 25th due to COVID-19. More in this report.
TUI's winter weekly direct flights from London Gatwick to Heronora International Airport will run through to March 2021. This is the fourth consecutive year that the travel company has flown to the island, showing its commitment and confidence in the tourism authorities and people of St. Lucia. By continuing to manage COVID-19 protocols, St. Lucia has been included in TUI's long-haul program for 2020-2021 as one of only 3 Caribbean destinations featured. As St. Lucia continues its phased responsible reopening, 182 passengers and crew members from the UK on TUI flight TOM24 were welcomed with a full complement of safety protocols in place, including the wearing of masks, screening at a nurse's station, verification of travel documents, and sanitizing of hands and luggage.
We really want to say thank you to our partners for their commitment in maintaining the COVID-19 protocols. We know that it is not an easy task as it has not been our nature, but these are really the reasons why our airlines continue to choose and support St. Lucia. And for TUI, year after year, the continued commitment, even through the challenging times, speaks volumes. Our international visitors have also come to understand the importance of the health and safety measures that are being put in place, as well as for our returning nationals. And we know that these are the reasons that they continue to choose St. Lucia, because they feel safe. And of course, when they are in St. Lucia, there are protocols that will be followed that will also ensure that they too can have a good time, all while observing the health and safety put in place by our health authorities.
Public Relations Manager at the St. Lucia Tourism Authority, Jermaine Georges, says that TUI services several hotels in St. Lucia.
With the return of TUI, it means that many hotels are opening up again. Many of our certified properties will be back in operation, and that also means that staff will be back on the job. Some of the resorts have already indicated to us that come next week, they will be operating at 100% occupancy, and some of these hotels that are serviced by TUI include the Royalton, Hideaway at Royalton, Mystique by Royalton, Rendezvous, Bay Gardens Hotel, Bay Gardens Beach Resort, Harbour Club, Bellevue, Sugar Beach, Starfish, and the Body Holiday.
A second weekly flight begins from 5th November from Manchester in the UK, serving the north of the country. All travellers to St. Lucia are encouraged to ensure that travel documents are on hand when at the nurse's station, immigration and customs in an effort to expedite screening processes. For more information about St. Lucia's COVID-19 response, all protocols and details of requirements prior to entry, You can visit www.stlucia.org/COVID-19. From the Government Information Service, Lisa Joseph reporting.
Disturbing developments to report now regarding the Government Information Service. A break-in has resulted in the damage of equipment valued at tens of thousands of dollars. Principal Information Officer Davina Lee has more on the incident and ongoing investigations.
A security breach occurred at the Government Information Service and NTN Studios located at the Eunora House, Point Seraphine, sometime between the night of Wednesday 28 October and the morning of Thursday 29 October 2020. Hard drives containing approximately 120 terabytes of data, which included valuable historical footage of national importance, was purposely destroyed, as those drives were dismantled and a substance poured over them. Technical editing bays at the GIS were also ransacked, and a DVR machine containing surveillance footage is currently missing. This matter is now in the hands of the Criminal Investigations Department of the Royal Saint Lucia Police Force and is under active investigation. If any member of the public has any information on this occurrence, please contact the Royal Saint Lucia Police Force. Programming from the Government Information Service will continue as normal, as we continue to fulfill our mandate of information dissemination to the nation, which is of critical importance at this time.
Up next, Primus Hutchinson with the NTN Nouvelle à Creole.
A habit of daily caring for the teeth, tongue, and gums not only improves your oral health, it also helps maintain a healthy body. Here's how. Be sure to wash your hands and your food before eating. Rinse your mouth thoroughly after every meal and after brushing your teeth. Floss at least once a day before you brush your teeth along the lines of your teeth. Brush at least twice a day, including before bedtime. Ensure you cover the entire tooth surface. Avoid sticky and sugary foods, including candy, as well as carbonated drinks, as they increase your chances of getting cavities. Consume lots of water, fruits, and vegetables daily. Wait at least 15 minutes after having acidic food and drink, such as citrus fruits and soft drinks, before brushing your teeth. This prevents damage to your teeth's enamel. Visit your dentist twice yearly. For further information, call the Dental Services Unit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness at 468-5314.
Welcome back. Time now for the NTN Nouvelle à Creole with Primus Hutchinson.
Merci autant, Jesse. Monsieur, Madame le Département, qui est responsabilité pour information en gouvernement Saint Lucia, GIS, et télévision nationale pays NTN, qui présente une nouvelle en créole, présente Primus Hutchinson. Premier ministre Saint Lucia, honorable Alain Chasney, déclaré qu'il est capable de gouvernement j'aménager pays à premier parce qu'un pilote pays est fort pour opérer en bas pèse maladie corona. Si le Premier ministre Chasney était venu très nécessaire pour le gouvernement trouver façon pour vivre et puis maladie corona. Ça c'est le résultat de dégoûter l'argent qui paye à prêté pour adresser ces pédates cette SPRC en hôtel l'argent qui le gouvernement a amassé en taxes avec l'autre façon. Le Premier ministre a dit que la bonne pièce mondiale cette c'est ça opéré en bas pèse corona pour chaîne économie vivant. Alors il était venu très nécessaire pour ouvrir pays pour encourager l'activité économique. Et pour ça là, arrangement tenu pour faire pour avancer opération secteur agricole, services touristiques, de manufacture et services financiers des institutions internationales qui ont opéré en pays. Tout ça pour essayer de chaîne économique cette vivant et durable. Selon le Premier ministre Chasney, l'initiative ça là porter bon succès et placer cette liste à une grande distance devant. Le Premier ministre l'a dit qu'à présent, cette liste est en chemin pour embrasser 80% en business touristique, comme plusieurs hôtels pays à viré en opération et avion international qui a posé en pays encore. Le Premier ministre a remarqué qu'à présent, ces avions internationaux là, j'ai accepté qu'il est nécessaire pour les passagers trouver tester avant de voyager. Il fait comprendre que cette liste a établi règle ça là assez bonne, et bien il a établi règle assez bonne devant ta maladie à attaquer pays là. Le Premier ministre Chassenay parlait aussi à ce programme pour assister les gens qui sont plus brisés en pays. Il a continué, mais pour ça à d'une façon plus organisée, côté ces citoyens qui véritablement pas payent, qui ont recevoir les bénéfices services financiers. Alors, même quand le gouvernement a travaillé pour essayer de virer aussi l'économie du pays là, le programme des assistances qui a viré commencer pour les revendeurs, chauffeurs taxi, etc. Le Premier ministre a déclaré que des grandes assistances financières IMF, Banque mondiale, CDB et le gouvernement de Taïwan pour supporter le budget pays qui a un de 100 millions de dollars américains. Aussi, plusieurs business, particulièrement en face de toute cette liste, qui a employé un pile de travail, comme Audiolab, ITEL BPO et les autres. Le gouvernement aussi a eu un grand soulagement en des grandes taxes que le pays a commencé à amasser. C'est le Premier ministre là qui a eu un pile d'éprouvement en économie cette liste. Bon, finissement l'année ça là et commencement l'année prochaine. Plus grande compagnie en la terre qui a poursuivi service voyage avion entre cette liste. Avion compagnie TUI Airways posé à son aéroport Hiwanora international mardi. C'est le premier voyage avion ça là pour cette liste depuis le pays a fermé pour service avion commercial le 25 mois de mars à résultat de maladie corona. Avion TUI posé en pays octobre le 27 pour commencer le vol pour saison froidière. Direct sorti aéroport Gatwick en Londres pour aéroport Hiwanora international à cette liste. Et ça a continué pour juste en mois de mars 2021. Ça c'est 4e année que la compagnie a placé commitment à cette liste et confiance en les autorités touristiques et le pays pour continuer le service avion. Comme cette liste a continué pour ménager la maladie corona, le pays a trouvé un programme TUI pour l'année 2020-2021 quand il y a 3 destinations côté qui est posé en Caraïbes. Quand cette liste a continué pour ouvrir le pays petit à petit, il y a 180 des passagers avec les officiers avions de l'Angleterre débattu à cette liste à 10 minutes après 4 heures après-midi et tout protocole était en place. Parmi ces protocoles-là, c'était masse à Sophie, traitement en chambre, c'est là, laver la main avec l'examination, tout document. Il y a un autre vol qui a commencé le 5 novembre, sorti Manchester à l'Angleterre pour service à façade de notre pays là. Les autorités qui ont continué pour encourager tout le monde qui a voyagé pour cette liste, pour tout document en ordre, pour les arriver devant l'immigration avec les officiers là pour faciliter de trouver service privé. Chef officier médical, Dr. Sharon Belma-George, dit que le Ménagement national des maladies corona à présent en position pour trouver contrôler en façon pour maladie à pas continuer pour s'immerger. Selon Dr. Belma-George, comme ministère de Santé, qui a continué pour travailler pour réduire la probabilité maladie pour s'immerger tout cas qui est positif qui est trouvé à l'hôpital des étouffements, ça c'est l'hôpital Victoria, le ministère a posé une bonne attention pour les mots couches qui sont available. Dr. Belma-George a déclaré que, comme il a déjà annoncé avant, 80% en ces cas de maladies corona pas grave. Selon CMOA, depuis qu'ils ont découvert ces cas qui pas grave, ils ont permission pour rester à Caille. Et seulement, c'est ça qui est très grave, qui a besoin d'assistance médicale à l'hôpital Victoria. Dr. Belma-George dit que pour le présent, là, il y a un seul monde qui a ces signes qui sont graves. Alors, c'est une façon comme ça qu'il a fait assurer qu'il a servi faciliter l'hôpital là pour les gens qui n'est plus ni besoin. Le 28 octobre, le ministère de la Santé a reçu la confirmation de 8 cas 9 maladies corona et ça porte le mot ça c'est le mot cas corona cette ici pour 73. Bon, nous avons une petite nouvelle qui vient nous vite là. Un effort pour continuer l'investigation et puis ça fait contact avec les gens qui paient ni maladie ça là. Le ministre de la Santé qui fait d'autres travail en diverses communes pour faire assessment et éducation santé. Le ministre là voulait inviter les résidents, particulièrement en commune Laboui, pour une activité wellness center là où ça c'est vendredi demain vendredi octobre 30 depuis 9h bon matin pour jusqu'à 4h après-midi et samedi octobre 31 à midi pour juste 6h au soir pour faire assessment et pour conduire test pour affaires corona. Il est nécessaire pour faire ça à soumettre éducation pour indiquer moun à ce maladie ça là et pour empêcher et pour contrôler de diverses façons pour servir masque et pour servir sanitizer l'autre bail comme ça. Le ministère a demandé tout le monde coopération participation pour activité ça là en labo. Et c'est comme ça nous tout un bout de nouvelle la maison là moi merci autant pour regarder moi avoir une invitation pour je puis moi considérer conserver la vie. Denga présenter l'autre nouvelle à quoi la présent ka vieux présenter Jesse.
Merci Appeal Primus. Well, that brings us to the end of the NTN Nightly. Join us next time at 7 p.m. with a repeat at 7 a.m. You can also catch up with us anytime on the St. Lucia Government Facebook page or our YouTube channel. I'm Jessie Leon signing off for now. Do stay tuned for more NTN programming.